What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday. But before we continue, obviously, with the summer coming to a close, the schedule is going to change with our videos. We're still going to be producing NFL content as the NFL season gets very closer, but it's just going to be more sporadically, probably longer episodes, whether that be with me or Nick. For anyone that's watched before, me and Colin. So it's going to be, just sporadic, different people on. And Nick overall, should be fun as the NFL season approaches. There'll be obviously a lot more to talk about, a lot more games to recap, a lot of highlights and disappointments. But it'll be fun as the season approaches because we're already on to preseason week 2.
Yeah. Hopefully, as we get back to school, I can hop on some episodes. I know you got some other people that'll hop on some episodes. We can maybe do mid-season reviews, take a look at where our projected teams are at in the middle of the season, because that'll be, probably around November time. Thanksgiving will come. Maybe we can do it for a Thanksgiving special, just kind of talk about how the season's gone. But yeah, I'm sure, we're gonna be just fine. NFL football's right around the corner, so everything's all good. Yeah,
that's the best way to put it. And NFL football is here because we're seeing, boy, as a Vikings fan, might forfeit the season before it even starts. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we do have a preseason game on tonight, Nick. The Patriots hosting the Eagles. And I believe it's the only game tonight, so it's going to be,
Is it? I was wondering that.
Yeah, so 7 p.m., all eyes are on here, and I'm going to try and get my eyes glued to this just because I want to see Drake May play. I'm curious to see how he looks, if Jacoby Brissett gets some run, just even if it's 1-2 drives. Obviously, for the Eagles, probably all eyes are on Kenny Pickett just to see if he proves that he can be, a capable backup in this league. It wouldn't even hurt to see Jalen Hurts in that offense out there for one drive, new offensive coordinator, new system, even if they don't play, I get it because, most of those guys like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith have established themselves in this league. But at the end of the day, I always have been on the side where I always want to see you get at least one drive. Even Mahomes always gets at least one drive in preseason just because it is really valuable just to, get some real reps under your belt. It's not even though, joint practices are a lot. You take away a lot from that too. It's not the real motion. So, I think, going through the motions at least once or twice can knock, the rust off, that if there is any. But overall, we already know it'll be super exciting, Nick. And I know probably your biggest takeaway is just see what you see from, maybe a Jalen Polk and just how Drake May looks, and even Jacoby Brissett if your game 1 starter.
And going back to what you just said about the veterans starting or whatever, I just saw Bill Belichick clip on the Pat McAfee show because he's kind of been going on there after his little bit of a hiatus, and he actually talked about how Tom Brady would go to Bill Belichick and say he wants to play in these games to kind of get back to game speed because, yes, you get a ton of practice reps, ton of, going through the motions, 11-on-11s, all that. But you can't actually replicate the game speed until you're on that field in front of the fans. There's a real score, all that sort of stuff. It's not, coaches all around you, players behind you watching. It's an actual game. So I definitely agree that starters should take some sort of reps in the preseason. I know some guys don't like it, but I think there's, because we saw it's like the opposite of what Aaron Rodgers said, where he's like preseason football isn't real football. And just it's kind of if guys can handle the pressure like the young guys. So I don't know if I agree with that, but, Aaron Rodgers has had, pretty solid career to say the least. So if that's how he looks at it at this point, he can do that. But going back to what you said, I think my biggest kind of what I'm anticipating or looking for is that, Drake May, Jalen Polk, Drake May, Javon Baker connections, like those rookie connections. Are we going to see that tonight like we did when we were at the joint practice? Because we saw them We saw Drake May connect with Javon Baker on a few nice passes. Jalen Polk had probably like the highlight play on a touchdown, up the sideline. So just can we see stuff like that? Can we see good throws like we saw with Joe Milton last week? Is Drake May just going to make all the throws he's supposed to make? If he makes a wow throw or two, then that's awesome. But I'm not going to, hold it against him if he's not slinging the ball all over the yard.
Yeah, no. I just think, given how some of these rookie quarterbacks have performed in preseason, like J.J. McCarthy, like Caleb Williams, like Michael Penix, and even Bo Nix, I think I just, there's high expectations. But for Drake May, it's his own development. Just go out there, don't be afraid to make a mistake. But, just hopefully he can sling it. And, Gerard Mayo lets it loose a little bit just to see, some of the talent that he has, because there's a reason why he was, number 3 overall pick. But it's going to be I'm very excited to see, what he looks like tonight, because I think, last game it was just a couple screen passes. I think, we're seeing the real stuff now, and I'm going to be very excited to see, how he looks and, like how some of these younger Patriots rookie receivers look like. It should be very fun.
Yep. Yeah, it's overall pretty exciting. I mean,
yeah,
for the Eagles, we kind of roll that into the news that came out yesterday.
So the Patriots changes are coming to New England. That was very clear and evident. And another guy that wanted to make more money was Matthew Judon, despite missing most, if not all, of last year due to an injury. He was obviously a very solid pass rusher with the Ravens, came to the Patriots. 2022, first 12 weeks was on a whole nother level in the defense player of the year conversations. Did slow down a little bit, but overall just had a really solid 15.5 sack year. But last year, obviously injuries have been a big concern for him. And then given just his age now, I believe he's already 30 something. And the Patriots, they're going through this process of they're bringing in a younger quarterback, younger receivers. They're trying to get younger, coaching change. They're trying to move on from, all the Bill Belichick hires, and they're planning for the future. And planning for the future isn't kind of paying Matthew Judon, which is kind of like a win now move. Just doesn't really make sense. So, at the end of the day, it does stink. But the Patriots, still get a third round pick in return for a guy that was, wanted to get paid. Was just on the older side, is definitely going to be, not the same player he was at his peak just a couple of years ago. But you still, for the Falcons, I'm still giving them a solid trade for this. To give up a third round pick for them might not mean much, because one of their biggest weaknesses was pass rush, and they're in a win now mode where they need to, want to become top NFC contenders after signing Kirk Cousins, making all these under the radar moves. Now you have weapons like Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, Bijan Robinson, a really solid offensive line, a defense that has Jesse Bates in the back end, still AJ Terrell, but you need someone up front, and they get a guy that definitely has a lot of potential that for them probably isn't that steep of a price. So overall, I like these trade for both sides. Really no complaints. For the Patriots, it made sense not to pay him, and you get third round pick in return. And for the Falcons, you need all the help up front you can get. And I respect that. They're trying to, solidify themselves as the NFC South champions, and also trying to, be contenders with a team like the 49ers, those top teams like the Packers. They have, their Rashawn Garys, their Nick Bosa's, and, Matthew Judon isn't on that level, but he's still very productive when he's healthy. And, assuming all goes right, it should be very exciting to see him, in the Falcons uniform.
Yeah, and when I saw this trade yesterday, the more I looked at it, I was like, yeah, this makes complete sense for both teams. We've talked about it pretty much all offseason, that the Falcons just have the weakest pass rush in the league, and it shows up on the stat sheet. And now, and like you just said also, it wouldn't have made any sense for the Patriots to pay him, I don't know the exact number he's looking for, but I want to say it's around, $20 or $25 million. And just that's not going to help you because you look at it, it would probably be, 4-year deal, probably close to, 80 to 100 million. And you look at that 3 years down the road, that's when you're probably expecting this team to actually develop and be, pretty solid. And all of a sudden you're paying a 35-year-old defensive end $25 million and he's taking up, a fifth of your cap space. So it's like it was never in the cards. Yeah, maybe he has, a 13 sack season for you this year on your way to 4 wins. Like there was no realistic reason to pay him all that money. And from fan perspective, I get that, it sucks. And I know some fans are upset about it, but because, he was a great personality, a pretty fun player to watch, probably the only fun player to watch on this team the past 2 years. But overall, I get it. It's probably the best thing, not just for the Patriots, but for Matt Judon's career, because he can actually now go somewhere that will pay him. He has a chance to win. He wasn't going to win in New England probably until the later years of his career. And
Yeah.
I doubt he wants that. So I wish him all the best. I hope he has a great season in Atlanta. I was a big fan of him watching him. I just, as the season got closer and closer and there was still just pretty much a standstill with the contract talks, you kind of figured like, okay, I doubt he's going to play under this contract. So this is the best thing for both sides ultimately.
Yeah. No, and I do agree. Yeah. It's the best way to put it. Overall, Patriots rebuilding. They're not, contending. Got to get rid of any pieces they have left for trade value. And that's a great move from them and also a great move for the Falcons. But with that being said, obviously Patriots are in a lot of headlines. But, there's a lot of joint practices, a lot of great preseason games coming up this weekend. But just looking at some NFL news, I think we got to start with my Vikings. It's just been a disaster. Probably arguably the worst start to a team's year before a game has even begun. Just in the summer with the quarterback news, then basically first day practice, star quarterback tears his ACL. Next day, the other starting quarterback is out with a hamstring injury, still hasn't come back. And then you get the JJ McCarthy high. They think, all right, got our franchise QB, he might potentially even play this year. And he tears his meniscus, and it was reported yesterday after we were done filming that, he officially, got the news that he was, done for the season. So that's kind of what I figured. I saw in a report he had, it was kind of 2 options that they could have done the short term, but it just didn't make sense at his age to, do it. So at the end of the day, that stinks. But, it's going to be better for him long term to get that, regular, regular surgery. And, it sucks, but like I said before, this is really kind of almost like a retro year just for him to learn and, grow. And head coach Kevin O'Connell talked about yesterday how, he can sleep all night knowing they have their franchise quarterback and what he's already shown. And, it kind of basically guarantees that, Sam Darnold, this is kind of a 1-year thing. If he balls out, that'll be great. I've seen a lot of ups and downs. It seems like he can always hit the deep ball, but it's actually the underneath stuff he's struggling with. So it should be interesting to see what happens. But that, and then, of course, Jordan Addison, ankle injury yesterday going up for a jump ball. Don't know how long he's going to be out for. But, yeah, overall, I think the Vikings did escape major problems with that, so he should be ready. But even then, it's just like the scare and just, TJ Hawkinson's probably going to miss the first month or so. Still recovering, although I heard he's rehabbing nicely. But arguably just been an awful season, and I'm ready, for the 2025 offseason and, free agency. So
are you guys tanking for the 1? Are you tanking for, the –
just because I was thinking about this on the podcast. Unless Sam Darnold suck, which is very, I don't think he will. I think he'll actually have a good year, but I don't think he'll be, trash. But if he is trash, then yeah, you'll probably, just lose games because you're riding him out there. But if he's just competent, this team is still not going to win like 3-4 games if everyone's healthy. That is, Jefferson, Addison. You still got two of the best tackles in the game. TJ Hawkinson will be back at some point this year. So the weapon room is still very good. And the offense as a whole, adding Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler, you still got a lot of weapons there. And then the defense, the front seven, I think is going to be still one of the best in football, adding Grenard, Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner. The secondary, mainly just the cornerbacks are question mark, just given all the injuries. But the safety room, you still got Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum, who's a baller, Josh Metellus, who plays basically every position in the NFL on defense. So, overall, I don't think unless Sam Darnold is really bad, which, we'll see, then yeah, you'll probably, just be what you are because you're riding him. There is no, let's turn to JJ McCarthy. Unless they really want to turn to Nick Mullins, but even then, I feel like it'd be kind of the same thing, except he'll probably definitely put up more fantasy points for Justin Jefferson out fantasy football owners, which I myself would appreciate. But they're still way too talented of a roster to lose or to only win 3-4 games. But unless that is, Sam Darnold is completely garbage, but I just don't see that. But I do see, probably 7 wins, 6.
Yeah.
If they're really, just because the secondary, Brian Flores, he'll have to work some more magic. He did it last year, but can he do it again? That'll be the question mark. But if there was anyone to do it, I guess it would be Brian Flores. So we'll see.
Right. And another thing I think we should get into, just because we have a lot of wide receiver drama going on around the league. And
yeah, that was the only good part the Vikings did this offseason,
right,
was get that contract under, and it's probably the most important thing. So, if there was a thing to not stress about and Vikings fans can sleep well at night, is that Jefferson is locked up, where for some of these guys like CeeDee Lamb and their owner saying they're in no rush, I'd be very pissed.
Right. I mean, I don't know how Cowboys fans do this anymore with Jerry Jones. I've never seen an owner need to be involved so much with what goes on with the team as much as Jerry Jones. And Robert Kraft is an owner who is somewhat involved in, stuff that goes on with the team, but he never will publicly come out and say stuff, make decisions straight up for the team. I want to say the only thing Robert Kraft did that I know of is back in 2016 when I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick wanted to trade Tom Brady, and Robert Kraft was like, we are not doing that. We're not trading Tom Brady. So you can just cut that out. But that's the only thing I can remember him actually putting his foot down and, being a part of. Jerry Jones is almost it's like he wants to be the coach, and he's always on the field. He's always, making these decisions, saying how they're not worried about CeeDee Lamb. Bro, okay, watch him walk away. And then he'll go somewhere and cook your garbage secondary up every other week.
So I'm curious, just whatever happens, what's gonna there is no real it's just an awful outcome. But what's gonna happen? Is CD just gonna miss time going into the regular season? Is he gonna get this contract? Is he gonna get traded? What is the plan here? Because
I believe he's holding out right now, so he's not in practices or anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I want to say eventually he'll play because, at the end of the day, when you just simplify it, these guys are professional football players. They want to play. It's not like he's I'm just doing this. He's not like Nikola Jokic where he's just doing it so he's getting paid. These guys want to play. I'm sure CeeDee Lamb really wants to be out there. It's just it's an unfortunate situation when you have, probably the richest owner in the league telling you he doesn't want to give you any money. I would argue CeeDee Lamb's a top 5 receiver. That's not.
He was arguably just the best receiver last year.
Yeah. So, Jerry, if you don't want him, gladly send him over to New England for the 3rd-round pick we just got from Atlanta. We will pay him. We just offered Brandon Ayuk $32 million.
That's what you think the price is.
We just offered Brandon Ayuk $32 million. So what do you think? We'll give CeeDee Lamb $40 million.
No, okay? I know, but I'm saying you think it's just a 3rd-round pick.
No, I know that. But I mean, we've seen what the prices come to. Do we know what the price is for Brandon Ayuk? I want to say the Browns was like a 1st-round pick and Amari Cooper, I think is what like.
Which I would have taken in a heartbeat, but
I don't think Ayuk wanted to go there. Which again goes back.
Yeah, at this point, I'm kind of done with I'm kind of done with the Ayuk crap. Like if I'm the Steelers, I'm more so trying to just ask Dallas at this point what would it take for CD, because Ayuk is just being like really weird about all this. It's like, and especially in Ayuk's case, just because he's had offers on the table, straight up contracts, like. There's no benefit, and there's no doubt, like, he keeps himself in great shape, but the worst thing you're doing is just missing reps right now and not getting into a rhythm with your quarterback. And that can make a big difference in just, like, the beginning of the season, especially when, there's new plays and stuff that need to, be studied. And obviously, I'm sure you could do it, but just missing these reps and timing with your quarterback is all still very, very valuable. And so whatever he's doing now, even if he ends up re-signing with the 49ers or, waiting this long to go somewhere else, it's just going to be a negative. And that's why, in fantasy drafts, people were afraid of guys, to pick even guys like CeeDee Lamb really high. And, he slipped in our 14-man draft for a while, and a guy like Brandon Ayuk as well, just because just the uncertainty, don't know where he's going to be. And just, it wouldn't surprise me if especially a guy like Ayuk, if he goes to a different team, gets off to a slow start, because we're already almost a little bit 2.5, 3 weeks away from, the opening night kickoff. So it's just not a good look for anyone right now. And it's just, hoping they can get figured out.
Right. You make a great point that if he goes back to the 49ers, signs with them, he's going to be behind on, I'm sure Shanahan's drawn up plenty of new plays for.
Oh, yeah. Offensive mastermind.
And then if he goes to the Steelers, that's a whole new playbook he has to study now. Like he can't be studying the Steelers playbook now, because obviously the team's not going to give it to him, and he doesn't even know if he's going to be on the team. So like if he gets traded a week before the season, then he's probably going to be like a decoy for a week just until he knows the playbook.
The only person that can memorize that doesn't need to know the playbook is the Pastronaut. The Pastronaut, without knowing the playbook, was a whole nother level of QB.
Until he ran into the Broncos. That's when he knew the playbook.
Well, no, that's when he knew the playbook, though, so it doesn't count anymore.
So he's just great at like backyard football,
which is low key, might be someone's style. Him and Ayuk teaming up, and if in San Francisco, because that's where the Pastronaut is now. So maybe him and Ayuk get some freestyle football in their off time, backyard football. Who knows? But overall, these wide receivers, that's definitely going to be a story to watch for, as training camp, and preseason continues to, ramp up, but also, come to a close, because after this weekend, 2 out of 3 weeks are already done, and you're kind of just preparing your final touches before week 1. So overall, though, Nick, it's going to be very exciting to see, our teams take the field again, and for you, your Patriots tonight, and, we'll be sure to talk about that at some point in the upcoming weeks. But with that being said, as always, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. Let us know in the comments, what you guys are most looking forward to at the end of training camp and preseason as week 1 approaches. But yeah, like I said before, videos won't be as consistent Monday through Friday, but probably going to be longer videos, especially once the season comes up closer, previewing all these games, recapping all of them. It's going to be very fun. Can't wait to do that with you guys as well. But as always, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.